South Georgia is a large, mountainous and forbidding British island in the South Atlantic off the coast of Antarctica. It was the last of Britain's South Atlantic possessions to fall to an Argentine invasion on the 3rd of April 1982, a day after the Falkland Islands. For my film about this event, see the link in the description box below. Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher decided to send a task force 8,000 miles or 12,000 kilometres from the UK to get the South Atlantic islands back by force. It would be Britain's largest naval and military operation since the Korean War. The Falkland Islands were heavily garrisoned by thousands of Argentine troops, backed up with artillery, aircraft and a powerful naval fleet. It would take the British time to move its own fleet, built around 2 aircraft carriers, into position to make an amphibious landing on the Falklands, and it was expected to be a tough fight. South Georgia, hundreds of miles east of the Falkland Islands, was a different proposition. The Argentine garrison there was minimal. The British cabinet wanted to send Argentina and the world a message demonstrating British resolve to fight for the Falklands by firstly recapturing South Georgia. A British victory would demonstrate political resolve. A subsidiary operation, codenamed Parakeet, was hastily put together by the staff of 3 Commando Brigade Royal Marines. A single commando company group was required and a company from 4-2 Commando was selected. 4-2 had just completed a winter training deployment to Norway. Major Guy Sheridan, an expert mountaineer, was selected as landing force commander. The company, commanded by Captain Chris Nunn, was added to with attached men from the reconnaissance troop, support company, some signallers and medics, for a total of 132 Royal Marines. Sheridan wanted more Arctic-trained troops and was given D Squadron 22nd Special Air Service Regiment, the famed SAS. The Operation Parakeet force gathered at the British colony of Ascension Island in mid-Atlantic. There they were joined by the Royal Marines' own version of the SAS, No. 2 Troop of the Special Boat Squadron. 4 Royal Navy vessels were allocated for the mission, out of dozens steaming south towards the Falklands. M Company 4-2 Commando were aboard the Royal Fleet Auxiliary Tidespring, No. 2 SBS and the mountain and boat troops of D Squadron 22 SAS on the frigate HMS Plymouth, and the remainder of the SAS on the destroyer HMS Antrim. Overall command of the Naval Task Group was under Captain Brian Young of HMS Antrim. On the 14th of April 1982, the task group rendezvoused with the ice patrol ship HMS Endurance. The next day, an RAF Nimrod maritime patrol aircraft flying from Wide Awake Airfield on Ascension dropped orders to Young from British headquarters near London. The orders were explicit: recapture South Georgia on the 21st of April 1982. The mission was a go. After the capture of South Georgia, the Argentine garrison consisted of over 100 Marines. Realizing the vulnerability of their position, the Argentine command had begun a steady process of reinforcing the garrison. They were working on restoring utility services and bringing in Bantam anti-tank missiles that could also be used against ships. Reinforcement was done covertly by submarine. The Argentine Navy only had 4 diesel-electric submarines, 2 modern Type 209 U-boats built in Germany, and 2 so-called Guppy conversions of World War II vintage US fleet submarines. ARA Santa Fe, the former World War II submarine USS Catfish, had left Argentina on the 9th of April, bound for South Georgia. She had aboard 11 technicians to restore services on South Georgia and another 9 Marines with the aforementioned Bantam missiles. It would be a long crawl to the settlement of Grytviken, the submarine antiquated and her systems unreliable. In the meantime, the first phase of Operation Parakeet went ahead, a reconnaissance of areas of South Georgia by SAS troops. 2 Wessex helicopters from RFA Tidespring and HMS Antrim would drop off the SAS teams atop the forbidding Fortuna Glacier, the plan being that the SAS would approach the main Argentinian base at Grytviken from a completely unexpected direction. On the 21st of April, the teams were dropped off in atrocious conditions, with gale-force winds and very low visibility. The next day they requested extraction. 2 Wessex 5 helicopters from Tidespring crashed attempting to rescue the SAS. The task group's last remaining Wessex managed to pluck the SAS off the glacier, somehow getting airborne with 16 men aboard instead of its usual crew of 4. The SAS boat troop then went ashore at Grass Island by Gemini assault boats from HMS Antrim. On the 22nd of April, the SBS landed in Han Bay and tried to move across Cumberland Bay East by Gemini to a position south of Grytviken, but was stopped by heavy ice. On the 23rd, the threat of submarine attack was made clear. The British knew that an Argentine submarine was somewhere close to South Georgia, but they didn't know that the Santa Fe had been ordered not to attack any British ships with torpedoes. Her job was simply to deliver reinforcements to Grytviken covertly. The next day, an Argentinian Air Force Boeing 707 reconnaissance aircraft overflew the task group's ships. The Santa Fe successfully delivered her reinforcements to Grytviken on the 25th of April. Underway again at 0500 that morning, bound for Argentina, Antrim's Wessex helicopter spotted her on radar on the surface. The Wessex dropped depth charges, which damaged the Santa Fe and prevented her from submerging. She started to slip back to Grytviken on the surface. A Westland Wasp HAS-1 helicopter from HMS Plymouth and HMS Brilliance Westland Lynx HAS-2 now attacked. The Lynx dropped a Mark 46 torpedo but missed. At the same time, a door gunner strafed the submarine with a 7.62mm general-purpose machine gun. The Wessex also fired its GPMG. Argentines on the conning tower fired back with rifles, machine guns, and even a Bantam anti-tank missile. HMS Plymouth's Wasp was joined by 2 from HMS Endurance. They fired AS-12 anti-ship missiles at the Santa Fe and dodged rifle fire, damaging the conning tower. The crippled submarine was abandoned at the jetty at King Edward Point in Grytviken. Now the British turned to trying to invade South Georgia. The Argentine garrison was believed to muster around 140 men, split between Grytviken and Leith. It was decided to launch an impromptu, immediate invasion with any available troops close to South Georgia. Major Sheridan assembled a 75-man scratch force of Marines, SAS and SBS. In the early afternoon of the 25th of April, Antrim and Plymouth laid down a barrage of 4.5-inch shells all around the Argentine positions at King Edward Point. It was designed as a show of force to intimidate rather than kill. Then the Wessex and 2 Lynx helicopters landed the first wave of troops who advanced through Grytviken towards the British Antarctic Survey buildings. As they approached, white flags were raised and the Argentines surrendered without a shot being fired. Captain Brian Young, task group commander, sent the now famous message to London: "Be pleased to inform Her Majesty that the white ensign flies alongside the Union Jack in South Georgia. God save the Queen." The next day, Endurance and Plymouth took the surrender of the remaining Argentine garrison at Leith. The British captured 150 Argentine servicemen and 40 civilian workers. They were taken to Ascension Island for processing. On the 30th of April, a Wasp chopper from Endurance rescued wildlife filmmaker Cindy Buxton and her assistant Annie Price. The 2 women, armed with a Browning high-power pistol, had managed to avoid Argentine forces in a remote part of the island. So ended the saga of South Georgia. Many thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share, and also help support my channel at PayPal and Patreon. Details in the description box below.